for some peace of mind. But TikTok said a gator drove a Jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat. And someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line. And Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. Oh, I'm just sitting here scrolling my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just...
Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and I decided to go Disney Princess, although not any of their recent live action. More Lord of the Ring, I guess, since this is Lord of the Ring. Maybe cosplay news is going to become a thing. I don't know. And M. Marsh, thank you for keeping an eye on the one infected monkey that's still on the loose in Mississippi. Yeah, I do think that I have an ear infection, which means that I can hear nothing from my left side. But I actually found my wedding ring, and Dingus didn't confess, but he had pushed it into a dresser drawer. And in odd, professional fashion, this is actually like the absolute kind of normal color of my hair. I dye it red, because I like red hair more. So it's weird to see me as a blonde, but Mr. Mo's like, we're going out today. So I've already promised Mr. Mo that I will go out in my Hobbit outfit, and I don't know what we're going to do because we're both pretty homebodies. Maybe I'll get my ear infection check out. Which, could be fun as I try to explain why I'm dressed up as, someone who escaped from a Renaissance fair. At least I'm not in the judge robe today. I feel like this could be an ensemble that we would wear, whereas the judge robe is a little bit more, confusing to people. But I had a blast yesterday, and I hope that Linus Wallace, I'm going to try to reach out to him and see if he's working on more animations for the Brooks trial or animations for other stuff. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I will be trying to hang out with and get with him and see if he's got more stuff coming, because I'm sure it takes a lot of internet magic to get that stuff going. Well, I do have fake intelligence. I dye my hair red, so... In important news, and to not black pill us too early, because we got some news to discuss in the Maya Kowalski case, and I'm a little bit black pilled. That's why I dressed up as a Disney princess. I'm hoping that it'll, brighten my day, and that, all the woodland creatures will flock to me and go against, John Hopkins Children's Hospital. I'm trying to figure out how I get my Disney princess powers so I can talk to the woodland creatures instead of get attacked by them. But we will get into that. I just decided not to start with it because, look, I'm trying to keep the princess energy. But if you are someone who struggles with your blood pressure and perhaps takes medication, you might want to be on the lookout because the FDA has put a significant recall on certain blood pressure medications. More than 500,000 bottles of blood pressure medications are being recalled over a cancer-causing chemical connected to the prescription drug, according to the USDA. Now, Teva Pharmaceuticals USA, which is based in Parsippany, New Jersey, I don't know. It's probably something very, very New Englishy. I just don't know. Now, they did issue a voluntary recall on October 7th for some of their parasoazin hydrochloride capsules distributed. What's the brand name? Because here's the problem. Most people don't know things under their chemical listing. Perhaps it's later on in the article, but if you are on any blood pressure medications and you are worried, I would just call your, pharmacist and get their, take their advice, not, a woman who's dressed up in cosplay stuff if you do have worries. Now, the drug was approved by the FDA to treat high blood pressure, but sometimes had off-label, prescriptions for managing symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, particularly nightmares or sleeping problems, because the medication works by relaxing blood vessels, improving blood flow, and that is supposed to, reduce the blood pressure. Now, according to the FDA, a class 2 drug or a class 2 risk is a situation in which the use or exposure to a volatile product can cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences. So this is not the highest level of recall, but it could cause temporary, problems. So if you do take high blood pressure medication, I'm trying to find again what the actual label name is. So basically, I would just say call your pharmacist or your doctor if you're worried about this. Well, Rhode Island may have solved 2 cold cases decades after the gruesome Red Rums, and hopefully now these families can start to get a sense of closure. I don't know. I just found a Renaissance Fair outfit and I thought, hey, I kind of look like Alice in Wonderland or Sleeping Beauty, except I kind of liked it when the fairies would argue over like blue dress, pink dress. I thought that was hilarious. That being said, I don't really know. Maybe that Tangled one. 2 old cold cases that stumped Rhode Island prosecutors for decades were finally solved this week. So good news on Halloween. We actually caught some monsters, or at least identified them. But officials could not catch the killers in time. Maybe I should read the entire damn sentence before I say something. Well, I'm guessing Satan's much more, punitive than our judicial system is. And I don't know that Satan requires due process. So, you win some, you lose some. Deborah Stone and Cynthia McKenna both died of asphyxiation 23 years apart in the Ocean State. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona announced Wednesday. Today, we can close the cases surrounding those deaths of both Cynthia and Deborah, and in doing so, we hope that their families can get a sense of closure, he said. Now, the victims have been and always will be our priority, and we continue to deliver results for Rhode Islanders through the cold case unit and office-wide. Now, Nerona launched his office's cold case unit in 2023 to solve multiple cold cases that had plagued the state, with the mission to deliver long-awaited answers for victims of seemingly forgotten, crimes, and for families that never gave up hope. Now, Deborah Stone, aged 24 when she was found deceased in the Narrow River in Narragansett on August 30th, 1984. Now, medical examiners ruled that she had died of asphyxiation by strangulation, with damage being found around her neck. Now, she had last been seen the previous night when visiting the apartment of Robert D. Germina in Johnstown. Now, Germina was believed to have been the suspect, and strangled her inside his home before stuffing her body in a sleeping bag and anchoring her down with a cinder block into the river to help, kind of hide her body and also remove identifying features as she decayed, which is kind of gross when you think about it. Now, police used unidentified person as an informant whose eyewitness account matched the evidence from the scene. Now, Germina told the police that Stone had passed away of an overdose, but the medical examiner was able to rule that out because the death was based on injuries from her body and not so much her toxicology. Now, one witness even told investigators that Jeremiah had disclosed to them that he had to take Stone's life because she was stealing from him, according to the Attorney General's office. Now, unfortunately, no arrests were made at the time, and because while there are things that you can definitely take into an investigation, you do need hard proof. You do need, and thank you so much, Stinger Bell. I like this. I might do it once a week. I will say trying to think of a costume every day is a bit much, but once a week it's fun and it's not hurting anyone. So thank you so much, Stinger Bell. And let me get this written out. So thank you, thank you. And Stone's murder remained unsolved until the cold case unit reopened the investigation in 2023 and re-interviewed 32 of the initial witnesses. And there are a lot of things that, a witness can tell you in an investigation that unfortunately, unless it's corroborated, can't be taken into court. So I do understand why, if they didn't have a solid case, they weren't able to bring it forward. But it is infuriating. Now, Jermina passed away in 1995 and was named the suspect in Stone's passing. For over 4 decades, Deborah's family has remained without answers about how her life was tragically cut short. The Narragansett Police Chief Kyle Rekas said, "Through re-examining the evidence and re-interviewing witnesses, our collaboration with the Attorney General's cold case unit has delivered answers for all those who loved Brenda. I commend our detectives and officers as well as our partners with the Attorney General's office for their tireless efforts in closing this case." Now, I do wonder what kind of evidence they found that was additional to be able to close this case, because it didn't seem like they had enough for a case at contemporaneously. So I do wonder, what kind of evidence, and maybe someday they'll reveal that. Now, Cynthia McKenna, 49, was found unresponsive in her bed in northern Providence on February 21st, 2007, after the building's manager hadn't heard from her in days. Now, her body was found tucked tightly in her bed with 2 pillows over her face, according to local news. Now, police uncovered the bedding around McKenna and found a sock stuffed in her mouth and tissues, so she was asphyxiated as well, but this was more smothering. So why are people so damn evil? I don't know. I just bring the news. I don't answer big brain questions, but how do you have an IT goatee when you are, full of the red rum energy? I do not go to this man for any sort of computer repair. Even though, he does have an IT goatee, he is not safe. Now, officials ruled her death, not surprisingly, as asphyxiation due to blocked airways. Investigators learned there was a hostile relationship she had with Robert J. Corey Jr. Now, Jr. was the suspect of several DV charges filed by McKenna, who was also owed money from the suspect. It took you so many years to find, any evidence to convict this man? Now, Corey was able to give an alibi to police about his whereabouts at the time of McKenna's death, but police found significant gaps in his story. Now, a confession to McKenna's murder sent to a known associate of Corey's was intercepted by police in late 2007, officials did reveal. And DNA evidence was found on the note, but Corey's profile was never uploaded into a database, and no connection could be made between him and the written confession. Rhode Island, what are we doing here? I have a I feel like Megan and we're asking, what do you do here? Now, the cold case unit used short tandem repeat, a new sort of DNA to analyzed the letter in 2024, comparing male family members to the DNA on the note, and did find out that Corey was in fact the writer of this letter. Now, officials tied the DNA results, the confession letter, and Corey's alleged admission of guilt to a witness as evidence that he had taken McKenna's life. He passed away in 2014, though, and could not be charged with this murder. This case represents the best of our collaborative investigative efforts with the Attorney General's Cold Case Unit. So I'm glad that they're continuing to look at these cases, but you think you could find maybe cases with living suspects so you could maybe deliver some kind of justice? I'm not saying ignore the cases where we know that the suspect's probably deceased, but you would think for a new program, you would want to show some like justice happening that isn't, our boy Satan taking care of it, posthumously. Well, if you're from the Philadelphia area, you might notice a bit of silence on your radio. A longtime Philadelphia radio DJ, Perry Robert, has passed away at 70 years old. He looks like a pretty cool guy. And he has my favorite job. Like, I just wanted to be a radio DJ. But then I realized that I'd have to understand tech, and let's be honest, that would never work. A longtime radio DJ, Perry Robert, a stable across Philadelphia airwaves for almost half a century, has passed away. He was 70 years old. Now, Robert was pronounced Robert. Okay, apparently. Roberts. There we go. Thank you, David Nielsen. I will say I have the most Midwest of Midwesty accents most of the time. He was found deceased in his home on Wednesday, according to his station WMMR's parent company, Beasley Media Group. Now, there is no foul play suspected in his death, but further details weren't released, and typically they don't until the coroner is able to do an autopsy for any unattended death. They just have to do that. Now, we all have heavy hearts today, Beasley Media Group CEO Carolyn Beasley said. Pierre's unwavering love for music and his deep connection to listeners made him one of the radio's most enduring and beloved voices. He will be greatly missed. Now, Robert, born William Pierre Robert, or Robert, I guess, was raised in California and got his start as a radio DJ on San Francisco's KSAN rock station before heading eastward. His legendary career with WMMR spanned over 44 years, beginning in 1981 and becoming a constant voice for listeners in southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, Delaware, and parts of Maryland. The Pierre Robert Show broadcasts daily from 10:30 to 2 p.m. Mondays through Fridays with his famous welcome, "Greetings, citizens." He covered all things from rock and roll to the classics to local talent. He seems like a pretty chill guy, and I hope that his fans and friends are giving the love and support that they would need. It's a really odd thing to miss someone that maybe you've never met or interacted with, but that really becomes a part of your life because you watch them. It's been a strange thing to grieve Jeff from Legal Vices. It's been a really strange thing to grieve someone that I never met, that maybe I interacted with very, very fleetingly, but because he was there for me on bad days, his some of his streams would really get me through some bad days. It's really hard to grieve that because you're grieving kind of a person that you didn't quite know, but you felt like you knew. And it's a really hard thing. And I wish I had some wisdom that would help us. But other than saying it's a hard thing, and we just keep stepping forward and remembering the fun stuff. That being said, I do hope that his fans, his friends, and his supporters can get the same kind of support that I think this community has really given all of the people who miss Jeff, and really came together in support. So I really hope that his fans and his supporters can be a source of comfort for each other as well. Now, I am going to rant, and I might drop some cursey words, so y'all have been warned, but I am pissed off to My anxiety is over the roof. Take Care of Maya, the $208 million verdict against All Children's Hospital in Florida has been reversed. You guys, I tried to do a video about this yesterday. I'm probably going to be taking this segment out and making its own particular video with it, but I have never been more disheartened. There is something deeply, deeply it feels, it may be procedurally correct. It may be all sorts of legally correct. I'm not a lawyer. I don't claim to be one. But to feel like the little guy won, to feel like the little guy won, and then to behind our back learn that no, she now has to go through this again. That basically J Hatch has won, that the big guy has won, and the little guy is steamrollered again. And knowing what she goes through every day as far as CRPS and pain. And I'm the first one to say that if you've met someone with CRPS, you've met one person with CRPS. Just like, you know, if you know someone with autism, you know one person with autism. But I can tell you that this young lady is dealing with more grace and more BS, you know, while dealing with a disease. And maybe one day I'll feel brave enough to really explain to you guys and the entire world how much CRPS takes out of your life. Like, I make jokes about it now. I will try to be doing to cover the retrial. I will tell you that it was hard to cover the first time, and I have to be very careful. So we might do it at a slower pace, just because if there are emotional things, because CRPS is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system. So right now that I'm telling you about it, you are probably noticing that you're breathing, but normally you don't think about breathing. Your body kind of regulates that, you know, increases your breathing rate when you're running. But there can be a lot of overlap, especially with pain receptors, since it's part of the parasympathetic nervous system, that if you get extremely upset or things like that, you can have a high pain flare. So it's not only different things like cold or touch that can affect it, it's also very linked to your emotions. So Maya might not want to go back and do this. I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone as to what the plan is. And I can see it from both sides. How much of her life should Maya have to give up to fight? And is this ever going to go anywhere versus I don't want her to give up, but we're asking a hell of a lot of a young girl who's lost her mother, spent, you know, nearly lost her father, lost the ability to advocate for herself, for her own medical issues, for her own body. And I don't know if I would want to do this again. So I am just heartbroken, but let's get into the article. Almost 2 years after a jury awarded the family at the center of the Take Care of Maya case more than $261 million against a St. Petersburg-based children's hospital, an appellate court has reversed the entire verdict and cleared a pathway for a new trial. The Second District Court of Appeals released its opinion on Wednesday, October 29th, reversing the entire verdict, including the $2.8 million in compensatory and punitive damages, and clearing a way for a new trial on a limited numbers of claims, including Maya Kowalski's intentional infliction of emotional distress claim and the remaining false imprisonment, battery, and medical negligence claims. Now, the appellate court found that the trial court erred in not granting the hospital's directed verdicts and faulted Sarasota Circuit Court Judge Hunter Carroll. Yes, they are going after Thug Judge. They are going after Mr. Tuft of Justice. We will not. I don't know how we're going to do this, but if Maya wants to fight back, she needs to know that she has a bunch of crazy aunties who are on the YouTubes who are ready to stand here and go through it again with her. If she wants, you know, backup, then I will move heaven and earth to try to be backup. because we sat through this. We watched that young girl handle things with more grace than my adult behind was able to do. And I swear to goodness, if we need the crazy auntie, Mo, Megan, Flux, Rosalind, we'll even allow Jay and Shizzy and everyone in. We'll all be best friends. I just, but whatever Maya decides whether to go through this again or not, she has really brought CRPS and chronic pain to the forefront and handled the media scrutiny, the trial, being in public with more grace than I've seen a lot of adults act with. So whatever she decides to do, whether she wants to move forward or not, she has aunties that have her back. That's all I've got to say. Now, basically, Judge Carroll allowed emotionally charged testimony and arguments that blurred legally immune acts with potential torts. Now, the decision also reinforces Chapter 39 immunity, which protects hospitals and healthcare workers who, quote, might be overzealous in protecting children from potential abuse, end quote. So the doctor takes away the child from the parents, bars them from seeing them, and then it finds out, oopsie doopsie, it was an abuse. And then, they're immune from that, basically. This is just upsetting. Now, in August 2024, attorneys for Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital filed an appeal asking the appellate court to reverse the final verdict and enter a judgment in favor of the hospital for the wrongful death, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and false imprisonment claims. In the appeal, the hospital asked for a new trial on the trial court's, quote, erroneous interpretation of Chapter 39 immunity statutes, the damages award to the Kowalski family, and for any claims that remain after the appeal. Now, the Kowalski family sued Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in 2018 for $220 million, more than a year after wife and mother Beata Kowalski took her own life after child abuse allegations arose against her, and she was not even able to participate with her daughter's medical care, even be with her. There were so many things and barriers and liberties taken with this family. I mean, we might not get through a bunch of other stories today. I am just so pissed off. This hospital was unable to keep oxygen tanks and wash their hands. Their risk management, officer must have been sleeping at the wheel. They've got so many things. And then this young girl was told, as they were billing her for CRPS, that she doesn't have this. It's all in her brain. Now, there is something called conversion, it's called something else right now, fractures or something, but there is conversion disorder where, yes, your emotional things in your brain will cause body pain, physiological pain, but that's not what CRPS is. And I can tell you that's not what it is. Now, in 2016, the Florida Department of Children and Families opened an investigation which led to 10-year-old Maya Kowalski being separated from her family. The family took Maya to the hospital in October 2016 due to a severe stomach ache, which they believe was a relapse of her complex regional pain syndrome, a disorder that impairs central nervous systems and heightens pain sensations. That's very, very loose to what it is. And it's not very common. So I know about, CRPS only because I have it now. Yes, I will be doing, we will be doing, I've got my nemesis. So it's my scary Halloween costume for Friday. I've got like 3 different costumes for tomorrow because I'm bougie like that. Oh crap, I need to go buy candy. Crap, I haven't even bought candy. My brain has not been... Look, I was so happy I found my wedding ring yesterday and then so black-pilled about this article that I basically effed off and did cross-stitch, which isn't really an adult way to handle anything, but it seemed right at the time. Look, it seemed better than day drinking. So There you go. Now, hospital staff began to suspect that there was possible medical, child abuse after they observed to what many testified as inconsistencies between Maya's behavior and her condition. Now, what you need to understand with CRPS and a lot of chronic pain issues is that you have good days and bad days. So, yes, there are some days that you wouldn't notice anything wrong with me other than a very slight limp. And even that, sometimes I can kind of even work on my gait and you wouldn't even notice that. But there are days where I can barely walk. When I was joking with you last week, you guys, there was legitimately a night where I could not put down my foot. It hurt too much because I tried. And y'all, I will be very, very real with y'all. Come here. Just between you, me, and the interwebs. I have birthed 6 children, y'all. Now, most of the time I have epidurals, but my kids have giant heads, so the pumpkin head is not really erased by the epidural ever. That being said, when I couldn't put my foot down, I have never almost piddled myself from pain. I almost piddled myself from pain. So this is not something that you can take, an ibuprofen. This isn't, you're feeling sore and tired from a good workout. That isn't, what this is. My pain never goes below a 5. So that's my normal. I didn't even realize I had an ear infection because it's so hard for me to try to differentiate pain sometimes. It wasn't until now I can't even lay on it and it's fully clogged up because it's so hard for me to differentiate, pain and where it's coming from, and is this a flare up of something or other that or something else. So we have good days. We have good days where you could, bump up on my left side and I wouldn't have any problems. I have days where even the fan being on hurts me. So and it's not something that you should have to prove. There are medical diagnostic tests that they could use, and they probably have done in the intervening years. Now, basically, the staff decided to call the, children's services and began a more than 3-month ordeal with the Kowalski family that has haunted them since. More than 5 years after the family filed their lawsuit, the case resulted in a 2-month-long trial. In November 2023, a 6-person jury sided with the family and awarded them more than $261 million in compensatory and punitive damages. The jury deliberated on 7 claims, down from the initial more than 20 that had been filed against the hospital, a social worker, and a part-time medical director of the Pinellas County Child Protection Scene. Now, the claims included battery, fraudulent billing, false imprisonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and 2 claims of extreme and outrageous actions toward Maya and Beata Kowalski, which led to Beata becoming so despondent she took her own life. Now, 2 months after the trial concluded, Carol partially granted a motion filed by the hospital to decrease the compensatory damages by $47.5 million. In a statement from one of the hospital's attorney, Ethan Shapiro, that douche canoe, he noted the opinion sends a clear and vital message to mandatory reporters in Florida and across the country. How about you find the real children that are getting abused and you leave these children who have complex medical issues the hell alone? Throughout the trial, the defense claimed that they wanted the case to go to court due to a fear of the chilling effect that it would have on mandatory reporters across the country. Shapiro told the media that the hospital was standing up for its own staff who did what they thought was right and the best course of action for Maya after the inconsistencies arose in her behavior and diagnosis. I'm not even going to read any more of what this bullshit artist is saying. Now, a breakdown of the 48-page opinion found that the court either fully or partially reversed all 7 claims awarded in favor of the Kowalskis. Appellate judges fully reversed the false imprisonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress as to Beata Kowalski, medical negligence, and fraudulent billing claims, and the $50 million punitive damage award. Now, the court did this partially to uphold the claim of, or did partially uphold a claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress toward Maya for retrial. The court held that Carol erred in allowing evidence of acts covered by Chapter 39 to be presented by the trial, and by allowing the family's defense to combine conduct supporting the other claims of false imprisonment, battery, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. And again, what this hospital did was leave her in a bed when she could not walk, dropped her intentionally. You guys, there was nothing you could have paid me to put my foot on the ground that night last week. There was nothing. I could not move it. I tried, you guys. So I am so black-pilled by this. I'm so pissed off at this, and I don't know how to. I am just ragey inside. This is like, I thought we'd won for once. I thought the good guys won. Like, you know, we rarely see it. Usually Goliath wins. But after everything that came out about the intrusion into this family, this, rush to judgment, this, kind of general, how dare this mother think that she can, tell us anything medical. It's sick and disgusting. And I don't know. And I'm sure that the family is feeling much more strongly than I am, but it's irritating. Now, I don't know what's going to become of this, where Maya and her defense team are going to go. Whatever way they decide to go, she has my support. If she wants to continue to fight this, then we'll be there covering the trial. If she wants to, just let it rest and move on with her life, then we wish her the best. But it is just, it's just pisses me off. So, on things that piss me off too, well, apparently somebody is filling Brian Koberger's Honey Bun Fund while he's bitching about paying, the victim's family about travel expenses to trials. I mean, it's like his legal defense team. I know they do have to bring this up, but it's like they just can't win for losing. Optically, this man continues to look like a bigger douchebag, and who would have thought that that would be something that you could achieve? Well, it seems that convicted Idaho student murderer Brian Koberger has been receiving compensation from his family and unnamed third-party supporters. What is wrong with y'all? Like, third-party supporters, I would like you to come to the front of the congregation. We're pretty nice here, but we do have some questions. I mean, what about him and his creepy Kubrick stare makes you want to believe that he's innocent despite pleading guilty in front of everybody and God? I got questions. Now, third-party supporters while behind bars, according to a new court filing opposing his legal team's efforts to get him out of paying the full restitution that he owes. Now, in a motion filed earlier this month, Koberger's lawyers wrote that he has no ability now or in the future to pay restitution because he's serving 4 consecutive life sentences plus 10 years. Now, prosecutors revealed in their response this week that there is a history of this defendant receiving financial compensation from both his family and third parties. In a sealed exhibit, they also included a summary of Koberger's cash flow in both the Latah and Ada County jails. So I guess he's getting honey bun funds somewhere. As part of his plea deal to avoid the death penalty, Koberger did agree to pay more than $250,000 in both criminal fines and fees, plus another $20,000 in civil judgments per family to the parents of Kaylee Gonclaves, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, and Xana Carnoodle, 20, along with Ethan Chapin, 20. Now, his lawyers argued earlier this month that he shouldn't have to pay another roughly $20,000 to Conclavy's parents, or nearly $7,000 more to Mogan's mother, Karen Laramie, in traveling and accommodation expenses requested by the prosecutors. The additional funds sought do not qualify as economic loss under Idaho Code 19-5304 because Steve and Christy Conclaves and Karen Laramie received extensive funds through multiple GoFundMe campaigns that specifically asked for and covered the expenses sought. So this might be something that statutorily they're not allowed to ask for, but it's not great optically. And I do understand that you do have to file this as a defense attorney, but it's just not a good look either way. And then to know that he's been given, if the state's talking about it, it sounds like fairly substantial honey bun funds. It's a little hard to argue that, poor little rich boy can't pay some restitution. Now, there have also been questions about whether Kohberger will eventually break his silence on the case. Now, he is a former student of a prominent forensic psychologist who has inserted herself into this case. In my opinion, and this is my opinion only, it does seem a little self-promoty the way she has latched onto this case. And it seems more personal to her that she didn't notice that Brian Kohberger had the potential in him to do this than a really wanting to find out the specifics of this case. At least that is how I have read it from her interactions, but that's just my hot take. Who has written a number of books about serial unalivers based on in-depth interviews with them. So I'm guessing that Idaho also has a statute in the style of the Son of Sam legislation in New York, in which, unalivers cannot profit from their crimes. Now, previously, she did tell Fox News Digital that she would be open to telling Kohberger's story if he wanted to share it with her. Now, if Kohberger eventually speaks out, he will likely not be able to profit, according to, and I do believe they do have one in Idaho. Now, according to Idaho law, if a criminal signs a deal to profit from telling their crime story, including through a movie, book, or magazine articles, the profits will first go to the state treasurer to be sent to an escrow account, and then victims or their families are notified and can claim the money through civil lawsuits within 5 years. So Idaho does have a statute that will probably let him, not profit from this. And it will be interesting to see if he ever does open up about this. I think that the judge had a lot of wisdom when he said we can get bogged down in the why he did this, and give him much more, attention than ever needs to be given to this, frankly, irrelevant man. He did one thing with his life, and it was to cause a giant amount of pain for multiple families. So if we never find out the why behind it, I'll be okay. If only the families find out the why behind it, I'll be okay. That being said, I think it gives him way too much power to be interested in the why of Brian Kohberger, because that gives him the chance to write a narrative and be in charge again. And he doesn't need to be in charge of or notorious for anything. He needs to be ignored. He wanted to be, infamous. Ignoring him is going to hurt him more than anything else. Now, I didn't ever think that there was fentanyl-laced paper or flyers. A Texas maintenance worker has been poisoned by a big F-laced flyer placed outside the library. 2 workers fell ill after being handed a F-laced flyer outside of the Texas library, according to authorities. Now, a pair of Montgomery County workers told police that they were approached around 2:25 p.m. Tuesday by a woman in the parking lot of R.B. Tullis Library in New Clancy that handed them a damp pink-tinted flyer. Precinct 4 Constable Rowdy Hayden said in a statement, "Okay, Constable Rowdy Hayden, like, you are the most Texas name ever. That is, if we don't get a Walker, Rowdy Hayden I am going to be pissed off. This is the most Texas name I've ever heard of. Now, about 30 minutes later, the employees began to feel dizzy and started shaking, experiencing hot flashes, police officers said. After bringing the suspicious paper to the constable's office, an evidence technician tested it and confirmed the presence of fentanyl. Who the hell is soaking papers and what is going on with why? Why? This is why we can't have nice things. What is going on here? Now, the letter appeared to contain a religious type message, according to photos released by police. Authorities urge residents to proceed with caution if they're offered any sketchy flyers. We urge everyone to exercise caution and avoid accepting items from unknown individuals in public settings. If you see something suspicious, report it immediately, the office said. Now, fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid that can be lethal in even minuscule doses. Retired police chief Mark Steffens told local ABC News that the tainted flyer case is an example of how dangerous even accidental exposure can be to fentanyl. You can't trust anyone anymore, especially when it comes to fentanyl. It's a deadly drug that can get into your system just by touch. I've seen officers go unconscious just because the wind blew and they inhaled the powder. It's incredibly dangerous. Now, the condition of the two employees who were identified to the outlet as maintenance workers has not immediately been made clear, and the incident remains under investigation. What are people doing? Why are we doing this? Well, now for the stories that'll make you question your sanity more than the stories that we've already been through. I mean, here lately in 2025, it's kind of like, is the entire stream What in the Walmart Rapture, or do we have a special segment? It's one of those things, the 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I can't always quite figure out which one we're actually at. But for the absurd stories of today...
The key keep its grove, thou gloaming shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With six-pack listening, sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
Well, the internet is divided as Dictionary.com unveils its 2025 word of the year. Come on, crapspackle. Come on, any one of Moisms. Dictionary.com has revealed their word for the year 2025, and it hasn't gone over well with some social media users. This week, the website announced that their word of the year this year is 6-7, a term that's been making waves with Gen Alpha kids in schools and frustrating teachers around the country. Spadoinkle would have been a better word. According to the organization, the definition of 6-7 remains complicated. You would think as a definition, as a dictionary, you had to pick a term that's defined. You would think that's kind of like you had one job, and so you pick a nebulously defined word for the dictionary word of the year. What is going on here? What has CERN done? Now, according to the organization, it's complicated. 6-7 can mean so-so, while other kids view it as a way to simply annoy their parents. When the term comes with a matching hand gesture, both palms face up and moving them, so 6-7. However, it's mostly for kids, and just knowing the term can indicate that you're part of a cool group. If you are still worried about being part of the cool group, I guess 6-7 yourselves to Friday. You would think if they're going to add any 6 number, it would be 6-9. That being said, that would be funny. But yeah. Now, the phrase gained traction online with people making videos, and it's from a song called Doot Doot 6-7 by rapper Skrilla. Yeah, mark me safe from this trend. I'll be okay with it. However, the term has become so irritating to some teachers, they've actually banned it in their classroom. One person wrote on Reddit, "I'm an eighth grade teacher and I'm so done hearing it that I banned it from my classroom. You can't say two numbers in a row without the class bursting out into a chorus of 6, 7. It was kind of funny at first, but now it's just old and continually interrupts many class conversations. Even Today host Jenna Bush Hager covered the topic during a September episode on her show Today with Jenna and Friends. She said that her kids use the term a lot. I mean, I've not heard it. My kids say bro, but there you go. I don't really care, but you would think if you're a dictionary, you would pick a word that's definable. Well, we found the man that did. We thought the woman was crazy who did the "Date Me, I'm Single" billboard. Apparently, we had a dude do it as well. I'm so desperate for love, I'm taking this drastic and potentially dangerous measure to find it. Well, I mean, what about love isn't always potentially dangerous? Have you seen Snapped? On the hunt for love, Eric Jonas first looked for a sign from above. Now, when none of the twinkling stars in the sky granted his wish, the resourceful singleton decided to take matters into his own hands. I bought some poster board and made a sign that says "I'm single" and stood on an overpass above the Highway 101 in Los Angeles. That sounds like a terrible idea.
Is that too loud?
I wouldn't recommend standing on, an overpass telling people you're single. But I mean, hey, it's one way to get a date. It's a bold, slightly bizarre stunt that the millennial pulled on Saturday, hoping to catch the eyes of potential significant others as their cars zoomed by. However, the California Highway Patrol recently warned its residents against attaching signs or banners on overpass fences, according to a recent report by ABC. Well, we would audio coffee, but it turns out that he's also looking for a man to love. So Kurt still has a chance, is what we're saying. Now, Jonas tells the Post that he did a quick internet search to ensure that his signage wouldn't cause a ruckus. He said the sky-high hack for attracting a significant other was a move he made on a whim. "I've been telling my friends that I'm single and soon I'll be desperate," laughed Jonas, who's been without a +1 since May 2023. "I've joked I'm putting my face on a billboard over the highway to see if I can get a date. And then over the weekend I woke up and said to myself, I'm just gonna effing do it." As you do. You get a bunch of poster boards, you say you're single, you pose on an overpass. It's a regular weekend thing. It's the same "what have I got to lose" attitude that the unlucky in love are adopting nationwide owing to a dismal dating landscape. Swipe left and right on matchmaking sites such as Tinder or Hinge, and that's really lost its luster with guys and gals on the prowl. In fact, a large fraction of unattached folks would rather score a sweetheart at a protest or a funeral than on an app. I wouldn't go to a protest. He seems like an attractive guy. I mean, and we remember this chick who rented an entire billboard of her face. So this seems to be a normal thing to do now. I recommend milk cartons. If they could find missing children, they can find your missing someone. And I would buy all the milk cartons I could find. It'd be like single people Pokemon. I would do that too. Oh my God. Could you imagine like single dating cards from like milk cartons? You just have like, come on. It's really fun when you find your own name on the Coke bottle. It'd be really hilarious to see people's dating profiles on regular groceries. I'm just saying it would be hilarious to me. I don't know how feasible it would be, but I'd get a kick out of it. An artificial tongue can measure how spicy food is before it hits your bare mouth. Or you could just not buy anything from the spicy section. Don't take a lick from spicy food. A team of researchers in China has claimed to have created an artificial tongue that can quickly detect spice levels in food. And they used a well-known hack to do it. Now, I have a question, China. It's not that we don't trust you on the medical, but there was kind of this snafu that you got us in for a couple of years and we've kind of not ever gotten over it. So I don't trust you with this fake tongue. And why are you spending time doing this? You look at things and if it says Szechuan, you know spicy. Now, the taste testing device resembles a small transparent square of soft gel that a consumer can place on their tongue and ready to test, the meal before they actually get it. So it's a dental dam? I'm confused. Our flexible artificial tongue holds a tremendous, potential in spicy sensation elimination or estimation for portable taste monitoring devices, movable humanoid robots, or patients with sensory impairments. Why are we putting these in robots? China, if you want to make a more sentient, smexy robot, you don't have to pretend that you're trying to tell them that's spicy. This is not for research for anything good. There is no reason to make this other than smexy fembots. That's my thought. The prototype, reported in the ACS Sensors Journal, took inspiration from milk's casein proteins, which latch onto capsaicin, the compound that makes chili peppers both burn and tingle. Fair point. I have no idea. But why are you doing... Why? Why do you need an artificial tongue? Now, researchers Jing Hung and colleagues base their research on the fact that capsaicin, a molecule that causes the hot sensation in foods like peppers, can be neutralized by milk casein protein. So they set out to create an artificial tongue that would add casein to an electrochemical gel material. Now, that invention would be able to measure spiciness levels through an electrical current change that occurs when casein binds to capsaicin. Now, when researchers incorporated milk powder into the gel sensor, it was able to detect capsaicin and other pungent flavored compounds. Now, to create a tongue-shaped film, researchers combined acrylic acid, choline chloride, and skim milk powder, then exposed the solution to UV light and resulted in a flexible opaque gel that transmitted an electrical... Why are we doing this? I don't get this. Now, researchers tested 8 pepper types as well as 8 spicy food types, including hot sauces, on the artificial tongue to measure how spicy they were based on the changes in electrical current. 10 seconds after placing the capsaicin on top of the film, the current decreased, which was relevant to potential spice measurology. I don't know why this happened, but there you go. For some reason, they decided to do this for reasonable stuff. Now, functional water that helps eliminate abdominal fat. Are we saying that this water is going to give me a six-pack? A Japanese company called Suntory recently launched a functional drinking water that can allegedly reduce abdominal fat. Suntory's new special water looks just like regular mineral water, but is officially classed as a functional food, meaning it's a food product legally permitted in Japan to advertise health benefits. Now, special water is aimed at office workers and those with a regular lifestyle who struggle with accumulation of body fat because it can allegedly help reduce abdominal fat, especially visceral fat. Now, Suntory's new product contains HMPA 3,4 hydroxy 3-methylpropylonic acid. No, none of this. It's water. Basically, it's a small metabolite derived from fermented rice bran that can help reduce abdominal fat. Sure, you have to drink like how many 80,000 bottles of this water to get enough rice molecule? Now, according to its official clinical trial data, continuous HMPA intake can improve abdominal fat distribution in individuals with a high BMI. Now, special water is very similar to drinking regular water. It's colorless, transparent, almost tasteless, has 0 calories, 0 sugar, and caffeine free. It costs about 150 yen or $1 excluding tax, which makes it affordable enough for virtually anyone. So there you go. I guess if you would like to get some water to reduce your fat, or maybe just go on a walk. I don't know. Just maybe. Well, in one of the trials that has been current that I haven't been covering since we've been on the Tim's trial, jurors convicted Illinois deputy of taking the life of Sonia Mazie, but can't agree on the first-degree murder charge. So this is a trial that looks like it's going to be going back for maybe more, deliberation. A jury on Wednesday convicted an Illinois sheriff's deputy of second-degree murder, a lesser charge in the shooting death of Sonia Massey, a woman who had called 911 to report a suspected prowler. Sean Grayson could be sentenced up to 20 years in prison or even probation. Now, the jury did not convict him of first-degree murder, a crime that carried a 45 years to life sentence. Now, Mazie's supporters were angered by the result. I'm fueled with rage right now, Mazie's cousin said. You get an officer that says he's going to shoot you, and then he shoots you, and you only get second degree. English. The justice system did exactly what it's designed to do today. It's not meant for us. Now, it can be incredibly hard to understand as a victim, I would think, and especially if you're not used to how things happen in a trial, where you can actually, what you can charge versus what you feel like the charge is. I am sure for every person who has lost someone due to a careless mistake or, red rum, everyone wants it to be first degree. But there are statutes, there are things that, you have to prove in order to get a first degree charge. So this one is very, very political. It is very, there are racial undertones, and this was a big case. But it does look like the jury did not go with the highest charge. Now, that being said, this gentleman is looking at several years in prison, and we're probably going to get the victim impact statement soon. That being said, I didn't watch this case, so I don't have much more than that to really add to it, but it is interesting. Now, I do know that this case is ongoing. A trial is underway in a $40 million lawsuit filed by a teacher who was shot by a 6-year-old student. The second day of a civil trial involving a former Virginia elementary school teacher who was shot in her classroom by a 6-year-old student saw emotional testimony Wednesday from her sister along with descriptions of her injuries. Abby Zwerner, who taught first grade at Rich Neck Elementary School in Newport News, is suing a former assistant principal for $40 million, saying she ignored multiple warnings that the boy had brought a force multiplier in to the school just hours before the January 2023 shooting. Now, Zwerner was shot in the hand and chest as she sat reading at a table to her classroom. Now, there are, upcoming developments. It looks like there was testimony from a chief of surgery where Zwerner was hospitalized about her injuries. There was a now retired corporal from Newport News Sheriff's Department that testified to responding to the scene, and how it was the suspect was only 6 years old. So this is definitely a lot of things that are going on. I would like to cover this trial probably in a faster pace once we get done with the Tim's trial, but this is definitely one to watch out for. There were notable, I do believe notable evidence from everything I've covered. I have done several articles on this from Mornings with Mo, that the assistant principal was made aware by several different employees and different people that this young man was supposed to be supposedly had a force multiplier. So this assistant principal decided to ignore it, to not address it, even when it was causing anxiety for the employees, allegedly. So it will be interesting to see if she's able to wiggle out of this, or this comes up to be neglectful. Well, we've come to the naming and shaming part of the show, so justice is a journey, but Lord Chippy awaits, and buckle in, you guys, because honestly, there's like a bajillion of these naming and shamings we must do. We haven't, our cup runneth over of assholes. It really, we are most blessed with a-holes and dill holes. But, you know, that's why we have our friend Lord Chippy. So let's get into this.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
All right, well, I mean, at least her mom finally got to speak her piece. A hero judge who was raped by a monster Hollywood producer, David Pierce, and lost her life in the line of duty just days before this man was sentenced. Well, her mother still spoke. A victim of Hollywood predator David Pierce was a hero cop who passed away helping car crash victims just days before her assaulter was sentenced to life in prison. Lauren Craven, 25, had been assaulted by Pierce along with 6 other women before the Los Angeles producer drugged and took the life of model Christy Giles and a friend in 2021. Now, Pierce was sentenced to a total of 146 years in prison for his crime, but Craven was not there to see him get justice. The police officer from La Mesa, California, was struck and killed by a vehicle last week while rushing to aid people trapped in a car that had flipped over on the highway. County prosecutors made the stunning revelation after an LA Superior Court judge handed Pierce sentences for the string of assaults and 2 murders. Craven passed away on October 23rd, less than a month after her 25th birthday. This is the douche. Sir, you're going to make a beautiful prison husband with those little curly cues in the front. Bon voyage. Drop the soap. I'm not telling you what to do. Now, her heroic sacrifice had already made headlines even before the public knew that she was involved in Pierce's case. She came upon a deadly rollover crash on Interstate 8, northeast of San Diego, just before 10:30 p.m. last Monday. She reported the incident over the radio before stepping out and walking toward the car that had flipped over. Now, Craven was then struck by another car, which triggered a chain reaction of vehicles smashing into the involved initial vehicle. The young officer was remembered for her final act of compassion. Officer Craven's actions in her final moments exemplified her unwavering dedication to the service and safety of others, a reflection of how she lived every day. Yes, Craven was her last name. So there you go. Now, Craven was only identified as Jane Doe number 5 during Pierce's trial, where he faced justice not only for the fatal druggings of both Christy Giles, 24, and Hilda Marciela Cabreas Arazola, 26, but also 7 assaults against victims who came forward after his arrest. Pierce had assaulted Craven while she was unconscious in 2020, prosecutors said at the trial. He was given 6 years for that crime, plus sentences of 15 years to life for his other SAs. Now, Pierce met Christy Giles, 24, and Hilda, 26, at a rave party in Los Angeles and lured them back to his place, plying them with F-laced Coke and other drinks that were drugged and things like that, and then refused to call for help when both of them overdosed. A witness claimed that Pierce said dead girls don't talk as he begged the killer to call 911. Instead, Pierce dragged their bodies into his Toyota Prius and dumped them on a sidewalk in front of 2 different hospitals. After Pierce was arrested for the deaths, Craven and 6 other women came forward with allegations that Pierce had assaulted them over a span of several years, beginning in 2007. But Craven didn't let that situation destroy her dreams. She joined the La Mesa Police Department in February 2024 after going through the police academy twice. So, just... Now, y'all, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? If you are... at this point... we are being tormented by dumb demons. Like, I'm kind of coming to the whole Alex Jones demons walk among us, but why are we getting the dumb ones? Why are we getting the dumb? This should never have happened. I should not even have to be telling this as a story. Why is this going on? I don't even have words today. I'm like, I don't even understand what's going on here. A dad let an unlicensed 15-year-old drive a Chevy Impala, leading to a crash that left a grandmother and 3 grandchildren dead. Is anyone a parent here? And this came from Florida, but God, this is even a bit much for freaking Florida man. Like, even other Florida men are going, what the hell? A 68-year-old man in Florida has been convicted of multiple felonies for allowing his 15-year-old son to drive his car without a driver's license, leading to a deadly crash that left a 50-year-old grandmother and her 3 grandchildren dead in 2023. An Osceola County jury on Wednesday found that Richard Seymour Ferguson was guilty of 4 counts of manslaughter for his role in the deaths of Trinidad Hernandez and her 3 grandchildren aged 1, 9, and 11, according to court records that were reviewed by Law and Crime. Now, Richard Ferguson's son, Richard Ferguson, previously reached a deal with prosecutors and pled guilty to multiple charges of manslaughter after he ran a stop sign going more than 75 miles per hour on September 3rd, 2023, slamming into Hernandez's vehicle. Now, under the terms of those agreements, Richard Ferguson was required to remain in a juvenile detention facility until he turned 19, and then he would spend an additional 2 years on supervised release. So he basically got he got detention. In this case, I feel like because I know there's a slippery slope here that we're going to parents to punish them for children's actions. But I feel like when there's a 15-year-old, when you knowingly let them drive, you have made a choice that is negligent. That being said, I am sure that a defense attorney could argue it a different way, but I don't see this particularly as being a slippery slope. It's not as nebulous to me as the Crumblies were. That being said, I'm sure there are people that could argue it exactly the opposite way. Now, according to court documents, the collision took place around 7 p.m. at the intersection of San Miguel Street and Laurel Avenue in Pasadena, Florida, which is about 30 miles south of Orlando. Richard was driving a white 2012 Chevy Impala with several other passengers inside. Now, Hernandez was driving a 2022 Honda HRV crossover. I think it's like one of those mini SUV thingies. And unfortunately, she, along with her grandchildren, were pronounced dead, either at the scene or at the local medical center. Now, a witness that was standing on the corner of the intersection where the crash occurred told investigators he rode his bike past a nearby park and heard people in the Impala say something to the effect of "let's go," followed by a hard acceleration of the engine as the vehicle passed him going northbound on Laurel Avenue. Now, Hernandez's Honda was going westbound on San Miguel and had just entered the intersection when the witness estimated that the Impala struck it, traveling more than 100 miles per hour at impact. Authorities later estimated that Richard was actually driving between 76 and 83 miles per hour, which is not that much better from 100. Now, police data from the car showed that Richard Ferguson had the gas pedal pressed at 100% just prior to the collision, and it was at 90% at the time of the impact, so he didn't even try to brake. Investigators said that Richard Ferguson assisted his son in taking the car out that evening. One of the passengers who was with Richard Ferguson's son that evening testified in court that he remembered that Richard told the teens to remember to put their seatbelts on before they left in the car. He also said the older man didn't make any effort to prevent the teens from leaving in the vehicle after seeing them get in the car. A sentencing hearing has not been scheduled as of Wednesday afternoon. There is going to be a pre-sentencing report that was ordered to be turned in, so they do take about 45 minutes, or not 45 minutes, 45 to 60 days to do that. So that will definitely, because it lines up all the mitigating factors, the, aggravating factors in this crime, and kind of gives the judge a guideline of where they can sentence. I feel like we need a puppy kitten break to end on. I have more stories, but unfortunately with the news, they're not always the greatest things. So what we are going to do is go to our end story today, because doggone it, after the Maya Kowalski thing, we need a puppy kitten break. So we've got two really cute stories that are actually really, really good. So we're going to do that instead, because otherwise we're just going to be black-pilled all day, and we can't have that.
When the world feels like a dumpster dive and humans forget how to thrive, take a break, just you and me, with a puppy and kitten, wild and free. Paws and purrs, let's drift away to a land where tails wag and play. No more noise, just gentle muse in our furry four-legged cruise.
That is a good idea. I like that. I might change it. So a dog was reunited with their owner 7 years after a burglary in Florida kind of separated them. Oh my gosh, if we remake this Homeward Bound for Netflix, I'm ready. A stray dog was picked up by a Florida police officer and was miraculously reunited with his owner 7 years after going missing during a burglary. Gabrielle Hartley said her dog Luca was missing from her Tampa apartment when she arrived home from work at around 4 a.m. in 2018, when she found her front door had been kicked in by a burglar. Hartley was contacted 7 years later by a microchip company, PetKey, and learned that Luca had been found. The Tampa Police Department said on social media that an officer had found Luca just wandering loose in the road. Officer Bishop spotted this friendly puppy wandering alone, and as soon as he opened his patrol door, Luca just jumped in, knowing he was saved. Luca was taken to the animal doctors of South Tampa, where he was scanned for a microchip, and Hartley was identified as his owner. Hartley says she suspects that Luca was taken to be used for breeding. So let's see. Oh, he's such a good dog. And he's a husky. I miss the huskies. Fry was part husky. He was supposed to be a Pomsky, but he wasn't. I just love that he's like, I was going home now. I was ready to go. So that is super cute. And I lied to you. Well, after this next story, I do have one thing that will all make us laugh, because what in the world were they thinking? But this is the really cute story. A couple boarded their dogs on their wedding day, and when they picked them up, they got an unforgettable surprise. So this is the lovely couple and their lovely puppers. A Massachusetts couple who booked their two dogs into a local PetSmart pet hotel for their wedding had a special surprise waiting for them when they returned to pick up their fur babies. Haley and Matthew were unable to find any pet-friendly wedding venues for their nuptials due to the cost and availability. They ended up having to, put their beloved dogs to in the pet hotel for 2 days in order to celebrate their wedding. The couple told the outlet they found a fun way to still include their dogs, Jeter and Ronnie, in their big day by featuring their faces on centerpieces and on drink menus. They even treated guests to a doggy treat bar courtesy of PetSmart, which made it happen. To make the couple feel better about their dogs not being there for their wedding, employees at their local PetSmart treated them to a special surprise. Not only were their pets given a spa day, which Dingus would not be a fan of. I think we are going to have to take him to the vet to clip his nails. Not only were they given a spa day, but they had a wedding-themed photo shoot as if they were at the wedding themselves. Oh my gosh, these are the cutest, most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if I love them or hate them. The dogs just look so sad to be in them. The photos show the pair of canines dressed to the nines in suits for photos. They each wore a gray suit around their torso, which came complete with a white shirt and black tie. The photos were printed out and framed for the couple and gifted alongside a print of the dog's paws and dog toys, along with custom collars, bandanas, and an embroidered, t-shirt with the dog's faces on them. So there you go. That's just cute. And they got to have their wedding and she looks beautiful and he looks handsome. But I have something else because, we can't just have Oprah moments. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And it is our final story. So I had to go to this so that we can hear it. Okay. We should be able to. We don't need to. No, I don't want. No one wants the ads. I hate you ads. Skip ad. Okay, now. Oh crap, now I need to turn on the.
Yes.
Put your hand down. Officer Jackson, good morning to you. Can you put your appearance on the record, please?
Yes, Officer Jackson, badge number 3919, out of the 12th precinct.
All right.
He got to ask the camera judge.
You got some pants on, officer?
Sir, they're in the. No, sir.
Officer Jackson, okay.
No, I don't want to stop. Shut up. I hate you, you stupid thing. I love that I spaz out like that. That is awesome. Yeah, there you go. I don't want you on ad. No, whatever you are doing, stop it. Okay. Yeah, so there was an officer that decided to join the Zoom meeting without pants on because, well, why would you wear pants? Who wants to wear pants? A Michigan judge was left stunned during a court hearing over Zoom when a Detroit officer joined the call wearing no pants, according to local media. WXYZ reported that Officer Matthew Johnson appeared during a Zoom hearing on Monday in the 36th District Court. The hearing was for reckless driving and public intoxication against a woman, according to WDIV. Now, in the courtroom video, Jackson can be seen on screen wearing his police uniform, but no pants. He's in fact wearing underwear. Upon seeing Jackson's state of dress, Judge Perkins seemed to say, "You got some pants on, officer?" Jackson's seen replying, "No, sir," before changing his camera's filming so his lower body is no longer visible. The rest of the hearing went on as planned, as you do. Detroit Police Department told WXYZ that they're investigating the incident and plan to speak to the officers about proper etiquette when appearing in court. According, a fellow 36th district judge spoke to Perkins and said he was shocked that Jackson is a person that Perkins has known. Now, Perkins reportedly said that Jackson was normally a very professional officer who is very courteous to citizens, and that's why he kept the hearing going as normal as possible after the incident. According to the website, the 36th District Court's dress code is business casual. but pants are prison. The court prohibits the wearing of shorts, skirts, sleeveless shirts, hats, and caps, including or excluding ones used for religious or cultural reasons, and other clothing that's not suitable in court or other professional environments. So there you go. We're watching this again. No. Oh, for the love of Cheetos and math. This is why I generally use Brave, but you cannot hear things when I'm on Brave. Okay, pause. Back.
Don't tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Put your hand down. Officer Jackson, good morning to you. Can you put your appearance on the record, please?
Yes, Officer Jackson, badge number 3919, out of the 12th precinct.
All right.
Officer
Today is-
Jackson. He got an Oscar camera, Judge.
you got some pants on, officer?
Sir, they're in the... No, sir.
Officer Jackson, okay.
Meet your new Dell PC.
No, I don't want to meet my new Dell PC. In fact, you're getting removed. I don't want a Dell PC. Although I did really want a Dell when they were really big and oh god, what is it? Legally Blonde. I wanted a laptop like that. That being said, that's all I have for you guys this morning. Thank you so much for joining me. I may keep up cosplay news. It'll probably be one day a week though, so probably Fridays, not every day a week, because I will say that I didn't know what I was going to wear today until about an hour before. So there you go. If Megan has a stream, I will be hanging out with her today. If not, Mr. Mo did state that he wanted to go somewhere. So, we are doing that and have a wonderful day. It looks like Megan is doing a stream. So let me see if I can actually, you guys there. No, not that. I love when I am a professional. No, I don't need that. Oh, I love when I talk to myself. It's like, find the button. Well, no, she doesn't beat out Mr. Mo, but I did say that if she had a stream, we would go out after it. And why can't I find it? Because this is... All right, well, I cannot find it because they're trying to hide Megan from me. It could not possibly be user error, which it might possibly be. But I'm going to check you guys out in a little bit. I am going to send you guys over there and I'll be ready to hang out and watch the end of and possibly day drink through, the state's closing statement, because that'll be fun. Ugh. Have your emotional support gummy bears and jelly beans ready because, yikes, we're going to have to listen to Miss Fox. Bye, you guys.